I just couldn't believe what was going on. I felt this love so strong. I was I felt protected. I felt like nobody's going to harm me right here. I felt like I was the most special person in the world, and I could not believe how somebody could love me this much. I'm not a good guy. I've done a lot of bad things, a lot of harm to people. I've hurt a lot of women, men, my whole family. How can somebody love me this much? And I can't describe. The only way I describe it is a mother seeing her firstborn for the first time. And I 10, 20, 30 times stronger than that is God's love for us. God loves all of us the same way, unconditionally. And I just couldn't.
I'm here today with Ed Vigil, who had a near death experience in a bar brawl in 2009. He is here to share his story with us today. Ed, thank you so much for being my guest. I'm really excited to hear about your story. And as I understand, this is the first time you shared your story publicly. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Oh, good. Well, I thank you again for coming to share it. I know it can be difficult to talk about at times, but it means a lot to me and it helps a lot of others as well. So I appreciate it so much. Do you want to start by telling us what happened?
Yeah. I have seizure disorder. It was diagnosed back in 2009. That's when I had my experience. Uh, Me, my girlfriend, and her daughter and her boyfriend went out to a bar. I like to sing karaoke, and it was karaoke night. Back then, I did a lot of partying. Um, so we had went out to a bar. I went in there. I put my name down to sing, and had a beer. And then I started my second beer, and that's when my name was called up to go sing a song. So I went up there, and when you have seizures, very little simple things trigger seizures. And I was in between medications trying to get the right medicine to get this under control. But anyway, I got up there to sing a song. Halfway through the song, I just handed the mic to some guy that was standing behind me because I was getting upset. The guy that was running the machine was talking very loud to another guy next to him. They were so loud that I couldn't concentrate on what I was singing. It was just I had these loud voices right here, and I'm trying to read the words on the song, and it just wasn't going very well. So I just handed the mic to this guy behind me and let him take over. And as I started walking back to the table, I felt myself starting to black out. I can always feel these things coming on. It just didn't happen like that. Mine come on slowly, and I know when they start to happen. But as I was walking back towards the table, I was starting to black out. It's a slow process. I can see everything just going dark. Halfway back to the table, I just turned around. I felt a bunch of rage coming inside me. And I walked back to the table where the guy was sitting. I shoved the guy that was singing. I just shoved him aside. He went flying. And I went over and I grabbed the guy by his shirt. I just grabbed him. And as I'm walking back there, everything is getting dizzy and dark. And as soon as I grabbed him, I blacked out. And I don't know what happened after that. I can't tell you what happened in between that. I know I landed, I was on the ground at least 30 feet away from where I grabbed the guy. And I was told I was punched in the face, but I know more than that happened. It was a bar brawl pretty much that I started, and it was me against half the bar. And after I grabbed him, I woke up. I was laying on the ground. I say I woke up, but I didn't wake up. I thought I woke up. I was laying on the ground, kind of on my right shoulder and my left shoulder leaning up against the bar. And when I woke up, I noticed someone was over top of me. They weren't beating me up or nothing. They were just there. I didn't know who it was at that time. So I'm kind of laying there and I'm looking up and I could see underneath between her, everybody standing around and just looking at me. It was quiet in the bar. And something happened that made me realize that I didn't wake up. I've never heard of near-death experience before. I didn't know what they were. So I was totally confused because something had happened, and then Mary realized what's going on. I had seen from my face something just shoot out of my face area. It just shot out really fast, super fast. And behind it were streaks, like somebody, like a cartoon takes something, takes off, and they leave a streak behind it. These were streaks of colors, and I can't describe the colors. I really didn't pay attention. I was focusing on what I saw taking off, and it was sort of a shape of a head, but it wasn't. I only seen an outline of something. I can't describe exactly what that is, and I can probably draw it, but anyway, I saw that it happened so quickly. Next thing I know, on the side of her, kneeling over top of me, and then I'm behind both of them, kind of where both of us, kind of where all the people were standing. Now I can't see anybody behind me, but I can see, and I see who it is now. It's my girlfriend's daughter standing, kneeling over the top of me, and I'm assuming she's trying to wake me up or see what's going on. And the first thing I heard her say, she just turned her head and said really loud, "Leave him alone." She yelled it out, "Leave him alone." So I'm looking down and I'm still confused, trying to figure out what's going on. How is this possible? How am I seeing this right here? And I don't know how long that took, but I'm still confused. I wasn't afraid or anything. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just confused. I didn't know what was going on. So that took a few moments, I'm thinking, and then I started to look around where I was at. And first thing I noticed that I looked down and I didn't have a body. I didn't know what was going on. There was no body. And I noticed that there was an oval shape that I was in. I was looking out of. It was an oval shape, and on the edge of it was illuminating all around the edges of it. And beneath that, I noticed like a bunch of strands of material just hanging down beneath me, and I didn't know what it just looked like a bunch of strands of material. Then I had noticed on the sides of me, on the sides of this oval shape, were some thick pieces. I could not put my eyes directly on it, but like sort of at the corner of my eye, I can see it. And they were thick. And I realized after this experience, the only conclusion I came to were these were wings. That's the only thing I could describe it as. I kind of looked up, and these weren't touched together. They came around down like that inside of me, and all the way down to the length of the pieces of material that I thought I saw. So that wasn't sure what that was, but I'm 98% sure those were wings. And I thought about this and thought about it over and over again, and I just couldn't put it together in my head what was going on at that time. I don't know how long that lasted. Time just seemed to, and I don't know how long I was out. And I was told I had two experiences back to back. Once all this kind of settled down and I'm still figuring out what's going on, I felt like I was back in my body, halfway back in my body and half out. And I saw myself on all fours trying to stand up, and I couldn't stand up. I kept falling side to side. I couldn't stand up. That only seemed to last for a couple of seconds. And then all of a sudden, I found myself back up in the air, sort of a little further to the right of where I was initially. But now there's nothing around me. There's nothing at all. I'm just looking down. And now I see my body in a different position, 4 or 5 feet away from where I was originally. And my girlfriend's daughter was just kneeling on her knees looking at me. And I'm looking down and I see my body, and things are starting to go through my head. I'm starting to get emotional because nobody's doing nothing. I'm just laying there, and I'm having all these thoughts at the same time. And I kept thinking, why is nobody doing anything? Why is nobody helping me? And then I started getting emotional. And at the same time, I'm thinking, I know what's going to happen. They're going to bury me. They're going to have a funeral, and they're going to bury me. And this is what's going through my head at the same time. And I don't know how long this lasted, but I'm hurt. I feel like I'm crying, like I want to cry. My heart is broken. Just looking at my body laying on the ground, dead, because I feel in my heart that I just knew they're going to bury me. They're going to have a funeral. Then all of a sudden, I felt the presence right next to me, right here. I couldn't see anybody. I couldn't see anything, but I know somebody was there. And I kept looking over my shoulder, trying to see who's there, who's right there. And then I noticed my body starting to be lifted up, like a toddler fell asleep on a couch, and the parents goes to pick them up, then take them to bed, and their toddlers, they don't wake up when we pick them up. They're still sleeping. So I noticed I'm being lifted up and brought slowly towards where I was at. And the closer it got to me, the pain was going away. All the hurt and the pain was just going away. And I started to feel better. The closer I got, I started to feel a lot better, and I started to feel love. I just felt like looking back and forward, who is there? You know, I was confused, but it felt like my body passed right through me. And then I felt so small, like a little baby. But I just couldn't believe what was going on. I felt this love so strong. I was, I felt protected. I felt like nobody's going to harm me right here. I felt like I was the most special person in the world. And I could not believe how somebody could love me this much. I'm not a good guy. I've done a lot of bad things, a lot of harm to people. I've hurt a lot of women, men, my whole family. How can somebody love me this much? And I can't describe. The only way I describe it is a mother seeing her firstborn for the first time. And 10, 20, 30 times stronger than that is God's love for us. God loves all of us the same way, unconditionally. And I just couldn't grasp in my head how somebody could love me this much. It wasn't clicking. I wanted to stay there. I just wanted to feel this love forever. There was no speaking. Whoever was there didn't say nothing. And I don't know if angels can show you that kind of love, or just Jesus or God can show you that kind of love. I don't know. I feel it was Jesus right there, but I can't say for sure. Um, I just know that he loved me so much, and all of us. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do, where you come from, what color you are. He loves all of us. It's not about us, what we do in this world. It's about finding God, finding Jesus, finding our way through life and this journey that we go through. It's the journey that gets us there, not the end results. It's what we do. But anyway, as this is happening, like I said, I want to stay there. And next thing I know, I'm back in my body and I'm standing up. I don't know how I got up. I'm standing up when I got back into my body. And I'm so confused, and I'm not looking around anywhere. I'm just, what just happened? And that's what's going through my head. And I heard the bartender say, I'm calling the police. And the guy that I grabbed, I recognized his voice kind of to the right of me. And he says, no, 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 don't call the police. So I don't know if I fought back when this happened, or what happened, if I was just standing there and letting people hit me. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I was in a blackout. So I don't know what happened. So we ended up just walking out. Didn't say a word. Nobody talked about it. The only thing my girlfriend says, well, you got punched in the face. And I didn't question anything. I didn't ask her anything, and they never told me anything about it. We never spoke about this ever again. Uh, we went home, and I'm thinking the whole week after that, I'm trying to figure out what happened. I can't put this together, and I'm afraid to tell anybody because I figure there nobody's going to believe me. If it never happened to me, I don't know if I would have believed it. Um, I think I may have told a couple of people about this, didn't get very far, so I pretty much forgot about it. I put it behind me, and it wasn't until 2023, just last year, about 6, 8 months ago, when it hit me like a ton of bricks. It's like Jesus smacked me upside the head and said, "Wake up, Ed. You've been asleep all your life. It's time to wake up." And since then, there's not a day gone by that I don't think about this. I don't think about God. I don't, that's all I think about 24/7. Doesn't matter where I'm going. And sometimes, if I'm busy or if I'm working or something, yeah. But when I'm alone, night and day, this is all I think about. I know I have something to do. He hasn't revealed that to me yet, but I can't. I feel that I have to share my story. I just feel like this has to get out. Let's just, and I've been trying, but nobody wants to listen. And after this happened, like I've told a few people about it, and nobody wants to hear it. And I pretty much just gave up on it. And then I pretty much shut myself down for the past 2 years now, and I took myself away from the world. I got tired of trying to date somebody. I'm divorced now, but I got tired of trying to date somebody. I got tired. I was hitting the bars quite a bit. I got tired of the bar scene. I got tired of all the drama, the backstabbing, the gossip. I had enough of that, and I kept telling myself, "There's got to be something more to this life rather than just working, making a living, and going to the bars." And I've been a loner all my life, pretty much. I never really fit in anywhere. Um, I can't. I'm not really comfortable around a lot of crowds, and I feel like people just look at me like I'm weird. I said, maybe I am weird. Maybe something is wrong with me. Um, so I pretty much shut myself down. And then, like I said, 8 months ago, this happened, and I've been trying ever since to figure it out. I feel like now it's time for me to. I feel like maybe that was a spiritual awakening. Maybe I figure it's time for me to open up to people and get out. I always find myself since 8 months ago trying to help people and help them get closer to God, but I also not sure if I'm telling them the right thing. And I figured maybe I better just be quiet and, get God's permission to speak through him to other people because people just don't want to hear it. They're focused on their lives. They're focused on making money. They're focused on the material things, the cars and things like that, and what's going to make them build their own lives and what's going to make them good and feel good. And I just got tired of it. And I said, there's got to be something more to this life. All of my life, I felt like I've been protected somehow. I've always believed in God. I've always believed that you either go to heaven or to hell. I never thought that once you die, that's just it. I was taught this and I believed it. I always believed it. And throughout my whole life, I've talked to God here and there. It wasn't very often. I really never went to church. I tried to find churches. I just never felt comfortable or found the right one, I guess. Um, but after that, like I said, I think I just had this spiritual battle going on throughout my whole life, trying to fight good versus evil. And I've had a lot of evil in my life. And when I'm talking evil, I'm talking satanic people, satanic women trying to invade me and take my soul. Uh, I never believed in that stuff. when I had met these two girls. I used to take martial arts back when I was younger, and I met these two ladies, and I became one of their instructors teaching them. And they used to wear the pentagram or whatever that is. And I used to hear them talking about casting spells and stuff like that. And I just thought it was a bunch of bull. Uh, I ended up starting after I got divorced. My wife and I separated, and I started dating one of them. She was very pretty. She seemed very nice. She had a couple kids, and she was very. She loved her kids. I can tell the way she just interacted with them. She really loved her kids, and I thought, how can why is she doing this? But I didn't believe it. I ended up dating her, and I soon found out that this is real. You have people out there trying to help people get closer to God. You also have people out there trying to take you away from God. And I've had this happen to me several times in my life where people like that have come into my life and trying to pull me away from God. And she almost did it. She almost took my soul to the other side. I became very ugly. I found out that I wasn't the only one that she was seeing. I became very obsessed with trying to find out what was going on. Uh, I started, I got into drugs. I quit thinking about going to work. I quit thinking about making money. I was starting to spend all of my money on drugs at that point. This was in the early '90s, and it tore me apart. She ripped me apart. I pretty much lost everything, and she wouldn't let it go. No matter what I did to her, she wouldn't let it go. She was just on me all the time. And I didn't understand it, but the more I broke down, the more she was there. Uh, it got so bad that she bought a gun because she felt threatened from me. And then my drug dealer was, I was so bad on drugs, he would call me this before he went home and say, Ed, do you need anything? I'm going home. That's how close my drug dealer got to me. One day, he brought a shotgun over and said, can I leave this here with you for a couple of days? And I said, yeah. I got that shotgun and I got in my car and I went over to her house, and I didn't go to her house. I just waited kind of a little bit further away where I could see it. And I was going to blow her away, but she never came home. Whether I could do it or not, I don't know. But I was high. I was in that frame of mind where she was stripping me down, tearing me apart. Thank God she never came home because I don't know what happened. And I left. And soon after that, I found people following me, and I didn't know who it was. There were quite a few people who were just following me. And I didn't know if it was the police because I was doing drugs, or who. I didn't know. And they were following me everywhere I went. I had already quit my job at that point. I just wasn't going back. And it wasn't just one person. It was more than one. And they had put a tracking device on my car. No matter where I went, there was always somebody there. And when you get on drugs, you get paranoid. But this was real. And then one day, I just went up to one of these cars and I said, who are you? Are the police? The guy says, we're not the police. So I figured it's got to be somebody that's connected to this girl that I was dating. I broke down and cried because this went on for weeks. And I broke down after talking to him, and I walked across the street and there was a church over there. I just sat down on the church steps and I cried. I broke down. They didn't follow me anymore after that. And I get a call from, there's more details that I'm explaining right now, but I get a call from a state police officer because I tried to turn myself in because I was running from the police. I was running from these guys. I was so paranoid. I didn't know what was going on. I tried to turn myself in, but the police wouldn't even take me. They knew who I was, but they ignored me. They didn't take me in, nothing. And about a week later, I get a phone call from a state police officer, and he told me that this girl is involved in a cult, a very big cult. They satanic worshipers and stuff like this. And he told me you need to leave the state because you're in deep trouble. Now I'm assuming this officer was one of the good guys because I was led to believe, okay, well, these police officers aren't doing anything about it, so there must be some members in the police force. So I figured there's these cult members everywhere. And like I said, I didn't believe this stuff at first, but it's very real now. I believe it. So I ended up coming back here home, and this lady hopped on an airplane twice and came down here and found me 2 times. The second time she came down here, I stuck her in my car. I drove her 3 hours away, put her on the airplane. I got in the airport. I made sure she got on the airplane on the way to and make sure she left. And on the way to the airport, we were fighting the whole time. She got so upset that she picked up her feet and she started pounding on the dashboard from the passenger seat. And then she started grabbing her hair and just yanking it out. And I was totally freaked out at that point. And I knew this girl had a mission. Her mission was to turn me. And she failed. I never heard from her after that. I don't know. Years later, I used to drive a motorcycle, and it wasn't a hardcore motorcycle. I didn't wear leathers and all that stuff. I just liked, just fun. I went to a bike rally, and I met a girl over there. We went out to eat. Somehow we got on this conversation about satanic things, and I told her this story, but in a lot more detail. And she just didn't say anything, but she was very interested in what I was having to say, and she listened the whole time. And she completely shocked me from what she said after that. And she said, "Well, I'm a white witch, and I'm not going to do anything about it because you have very strong angel protecting you." And she said, "You're right. This girl had a mission." He said, "But I don't want nothing to do with you. Somebody is protecting you, and whoever's protecting you is very strong." And I felt like all my life that somebody's been protecting me. And now I got confirmation about it from somebody who believes in God, somebody who believes in heaven, but they are totally against it. They hate God. Their job, their mission is to take people and turn them away from God. So that right there told me that, okay, yeah, I have a guardian angel. And when I had my near death experience, that pretty much explained what was on the side of me, those wings. I just figured, okay, well, this is my guardian angel protecting me. And it's been all these years, I'm still trying to figure this out. And I'm reaching out to people to help me figure this out and break this down for me. I pretty much know what happened. I feel like, I had this experience for a reason, a wake up call. And for years I ignored it, but now I'm not. I want to help people find God. I'm working on myself still. I don't know what God has planned for me, but I know it's going to be something good eventually. I know I just have to continue fighting, pushing forward, and I know the truth now. I know where we're going. I just feel like I have to keep pushing on. I'm not going to give up on people. God loves people so much. We don't, well, they don't realize how much God loves us. We just can't comprehend how much we're so special to Him. So special. I mean, we are priority. And I've never realized that. I've always believed in God, but I never really realized how much He loves us and how special we are to Him. And it just completely freaked me out that somebody could love me that much.
It's a very beautiful story, and heartwarming. You said in your experience while you were there, there was strands of material hanging off of you. What kind of material was that?
I don't know. It was just a bunch of strips. I kind of figured it was like maybe, a bird just sitting on a tree with his wings just folded in, and then on the backside his tail feather wings, maybe something along those lines. But it was off white, and I've looked up angels now, and I realized, and I never knew this. Angels come in different shapes and forms, and some of them are scary. And I've looked at several of them, and I've seen an angel with like an eye right in the middle, and that's all I can figure, that this is what an angel was protecting me at that point when I died.
Do you feel like you still have access to that place now if you think about it or pray or go into meditation? Are you able to bring back that feeling of love?
Yes, the feeling of love will never leave me. Never. I'll never forget this feeling of love, and it drives me to be with God. Um, I'll never forget what happened. You can ask me 20 years from now, and the story will be the same. It's never going to change. I remember it like it happened yesterday. And this feeling of love right now is not as strong as what it is when it was there, but I know what it felt like, and I want to feel it again. I want to be in heaven with God. That's where I want to go. I had to come to realize that my own daughter, I love her with all of my heart, but God comes first. I know that she's going to be protected like I have all of my life. That God has, I feel like now, I prayed for kids all of my life, and she's my only one. And she came around when I was 40 years old. And thankfully, I'm still in good shape. I've worked out all my life that I was able to play softball and things like that with her. I was very active. And even the love that I have with her doesn't compare with God's love. So I know I have to release and let go all the things of this world. I'll never stop loving my daughter. My parents, I told my own mother about this. She didn't believe me. But I had to let go everything of this world. Anything that I wanted, any cars, motorcycles, nice house, I let it all go. I don't live in a very nice house right now. It was given to me by my parents, and I had to fix it up because they were getting ready to tear it down. And I find this as a blessing. At first, I didn't want to fix it. I wanted to tear it down myself. But now, looking back, this past 8 months, I look at it as a blessing. My daughter was a blessing, and nothing else is more important than getting right with God. And I'm still working on that. But I think I'm headed in the right direction because I can't stop thinking of this. I can't stop thinking of him. And I want to help people get closer. People just don't want to listen.
You had a belief of heaven and hell as you were growing up and throughout your life until this near death experience. Did it change at that point when you came out of your near death experience? Did
Well,
your perspective of heaven and hell change?
not at that point. I was totally confused. It didn't change until 8 months ago when, like I said, Jesus just smacked me upside the head. That's when everything changed. That's when I started seeing life differently. That's when I started seeing people differently. That's when I tried to find no more hate. Even my worst enemy, I wouldn't wish hell upon my worst enemy. I felt a change in myself. I want to change myself. But before that, my life didn't change at all. I went back into the bars. I just didn't care. But things changed 8 months ago, and I want to help people. I want to better myself. I look at death differently now. I don't look at it as fear. I don't look at it as anything else but going home. I I have a cousin that lost her husband over a year ago, and she's a mess. She's destroyed, and I understand that. And I talked to her about that. And her husband had lung transplants. He was sick all of his life, and they told him, "You got 5 years to live," and it pretty much did that. She said at the end of his life, he was gurgling up phlegm, and he couldn't breathe. And she said at the last moment, he looked up at her in total peace and told her, "I love you," and pretty much goodbye. And it destroyed her. She doesn't understand why God took her from him from her. She hasn't accepted it, and she still hasn't accepted this day. And I pray for her. I told her my story. I don't know if she believed me or not, but I tried to help her get closer to God. But I don't know if I'm doing it the right way. I can only pray that God gives me the strength to tell my story and help other people the right way. I'm still working on myself.
Did the memories come to you right away, or did they unfold slowly over time?
It came to me right away. I have always known what happened. It's never changed. It's in my head. And I remember every detail of what happened.
Why do you think that just recently you've had this calling to share your experience and this connection, this deep connection with God?
Because I'm feeling his love again. I'm feeling it. And I'm feeling that he has a plan for me. And I want to embrace that wholly as much as I can. And I'm loving it. I'm loving the way I'm feeling. I'm loving watching people. And I see everybody differently. And I want to be with him. I want to do what he wants me to do. I want to do his will, not my own. And I'm working on it. I can't say I'm there yet, but I'm working on it.
Maybe sharing your story is a big part of that because it does help so many people. And not everybody's had that experience, but some people have had experience similar to you had an experience and weren't really sure what to make of it, and that happens to others as well. And
Yeah.
so when they hear your story, they know they're not alone, and that it was a true experience, and maybe there's something more.
People are not alone. Even if they feel like me, I felt like I was an outcast in life all of my life. But I know now that I was not alone uh, ever. I just didn't know it. And now I know it, that I'm not alone. I can be alone in my house and I feel like uh, Jesus or my guardian angel is there. And I don't want to mess that up.
Has this changed the way that you live your life now in the past 8 months? Are you living differently?
Absolutely. I don't go out to the bars. I don't interact with negative people. Even the negative people I talk to, I try to help because I know they're in a bad place and they don't know it. And I try to help them. They don't listen, but at least I tried. Uh, but yes, I don't do none of that. I totally changed. I shut myself down so I can have lots of time with Jesus to connect, pray. And I'm starting to pray a lot more now. I was never one for prayer, but I am now. I'm working on it, and I just want to get closer. I don't work because of the seizure disorder. I was a truck driver all of my life, and I worked around trucks and tractor trailers and heavy equipment. And of course, when you have seizures, you're not allowed to drive a truck anymore or drive at all. And it took me a long time to get this under control. And now I'm getting ready to retire, so I can't go back to work. And nobody's going to take me anyway with the disorders I have. And plus, I'm old, but that's okay. It doesn't bother me because I know what I want. And all these things in life that people want, they just don't understand what's more important, our salvation and how we treat other people. Even the littlest, smallest things that we do for somebody is very important. The littlest things. You don't have to do anything large, anything huge. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money. You just give. and help without any expecting anything back in return. That's how I feel about life now.
Do you have any plans for your future retirement to help others?
Yes, I do. I want to. I just feel the need to help people. It's just, I feel it. It's not my want. I feel like it's something I have to do. I want to help as many people get close to God if I can. But people just don't want to listen. But I'm not going to give up because I know, I went through a lot. I did a lot of wrong, did a lot of bad, and everybody's the same way. We have our goods, our ups and downs, and people need help. They need to understand and realize that you're not alone. We suffer for a reason, and it brings us closer to God. Without that, we where would we be? And that suffering has brought me closer to God. I've never blamed God for anything that I've done. I've never blamed him for these witches. I never blamed him for losing my job. I've never put any blame on him ever. I know that God is God and we have our own free will and take responsibility for the actions that I did, and all the things that I've done. I've taken responsibility for that. But I've never blamed God. I know that he loves us, and I always have. But it wasn't until 8 months ago that I realized how much. When I had my experience, I knew how much. I knew exactly how much he had love, unconditional love, and we are very important. But it wasn't until 8 months ago where I started acting on it.
How can people develop that deep connection with God that you have?
Accept their suffering, look at their suffering as a blessing and not a curse. Pray, help them pray, realize that suffering is one of the keys to getting closer to God. It's going to pray and God's going to hear you. That's what he wants us to do, suffer so we can get closer to him. That's kind of what I feel. And I always felt like, why am I suffering? But now I know it has brought me closer to God. I've been through a lot and I've been through people trying to take my soul. And as far as I'm concerned, that's one of the worst things that can ever happen to a person. And I think God protected me the whole time. So I feel like people need to embrace their pain, their suffering, and pray and get closer to God. And I want to help them if I can, if they would just listen. I just want to make sure that I'm doing it the right way. It's making me feel a lot better just telling you what
Good.
I feel. It's heartwarming right here that somebody will actually listen to what I'm saying. And I know there's people out there that believe this and had their own experience, and everybody's experiences are different, but there are so many different things that everybody has in common. The love, the love that everybody feels, it's undeniable. It's hard to explain, but we all know that it's unconditional and that we are loved so much by God that I don't know how anybody can turn away from that. I will never turn away from that again.
If people wanted to reach out to you, if they have more questions or they wanted to discuss your experience, how can they find you?
They can find me on Facebook, message me on Messenger. Uh, it's under Ed B. Hill. Um, and you'll see a picture of my beautiful daughter on there. That's my profile. And yeah, they can reach out to me that way if anybody has any questions. I'd love to talk about it to anybody who wants to listen.
Thank you so much, Ed, for being my guest today. It's been an absolute pleasure to spend this time with you and to hear your story.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you being here and supporting my channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing if you enjoy near death experiences and other spiritually transformative stories. It helps the algorithm know that this information is useful and push it out to more people. And that's the goal, to get as many people to know that we are eternal spiritual beings and that we never die. Our bodies might die, but our essence will never die. And I want people to live with less fear. Let's all spread the word. Like, comment, subscribe, share, hit that little notification bell so you get all the notifications when my videos post. Thank you for all of your support. I'm sending love to you.